Look, Vaughn, the Bahamut.
A message from the Alexander.
Take it.
Sir.
This is Judge Zargabaath, captain of the Alexander, flagship of the 12th Damascus Fleet of the Arcadian Army. I address all ships in Rabanasta's airspace. The Bahamut must not be allowed to fall on the city of Rabanasta. We are preparing to ram her. Do not interfere.
Madness.
Should she fall, the paling will not hold, and all Rabanasta will be obliterated. All ships, concentrate your fire on the Alexander's remains once Bahamut is clear of the city.
Hasty, aren't they? I think it's a little early to be throwing away our lives just yet.
Balthier? Wait! Balthier, where are you?
Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. Let's have a look at Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, and then this will be a 7-star level 120 review of Zargabaath. He is from Final Fantasy XII, and that's one of my 3 favorite Final Fantasies, the other 2 being 1 and 4. Zargabaath is a bad guy. He's one of the judges from the Empire. But by the end of the game, he turns out to be good. As you saw in the intro movie, he tries to save the city that he was earlier trying to subjugate. But yeah, the character in the game here, Brave Exvius, is also very cool. And I've been a fan of him ever since he first came out. He is a funky support character, and it's a little difficult to sort of like imagine what he can do, just because he's got so much he can do, and it's like a weird combination of abilities. But once you try him out and see what he's capable of, then you learn that he's pretty darn awesome. And then, after he got enhancements, he got even better. And then after he got a 7-star, he became like top class. Maybe like people don't even need Nicole anymore. But anyway, let's look at him. And then I'll talk about first how I used him as a 6-star character. So, let's see. I used Rejuvenate a lot. This will give you HP and MP. This was a nice kind of like a sub-healing ability or like a MP battery ability. Once it was enhanced, once he got his enhancements, now it would also give HP, MP regen and re-raise. So this is a very, very versatile, very powerful ability. What else did I use him for? Blade of Justice is good. This is a Dispel, and it's single target. And then you can also target an enemy, or you can target a teammate. So like if a teammate has Charm or Stop, you can use this on them to get rid of it. It does do damage, so you might want to be careful about how much damage that does. Otherwise, Shield. This is 20% physical evasion and magic evasion. There were some places where I built Zargabaath as a 100% evade provoke tank. So, give him like golems so he can do the provoke, and then fill him up with like assassin's vests and stuff. And that was very useful for me in Marlborough, Rumble of Marlborough. I got my first clear of that guy using Zargabaath as my provoke evade tank, so that was pretty cool. Let's see, Bastion is okay. It's 40% elemental resistance. Not as good as Minfilia, who can do 70 for all of your guys, but useful once in a while. I would often use this on off turns. I remember using this in Igaion when I got my first clear there. And then there's Arcadian Light, which buffs all of your guys, all stats. If you enhance it, it also lasts for more turns and then gives you stop resistance. So that's pretty cool, that's pretty niche. And then talking about his abilities that can be enhanced, I would say go and get all of them. Authority, this will give you more buffs depending on what sort of weapon you are using. Word of Law, this will raise damage mitigation to 30%, which is pretty good. And then, let's see, Rejuvenate, yeah, that adds the re-raise and then the regen, so definitely do that. And then Arcadian Light, yeah, enhance this as well so you can get the stop resistance. But yeah, that is basically how I used him as a 6-star. And then if we look back at this, Authority and then Flames of Justice, depending on what weapons you use with him, he will get certain buffs. So let's look at some of those. Let's see. Swords, great swords, katanas, hammers, and spears. And then if they are fire or light element, he'll get buffs from those as well. And so, looking at what I have, these are the swords that are maybe best for him. Weapons or swords. And as you can see, I've done some item world on them. So like on this guy, I have defense and HP and spirit. On this guy, a bunch of attack. This is more for my other characters. Lightbringer, this one has Spirit, HP, MP, that's nice. And then Beast Hammer here, Defense, Spirit, HP, yeah. However, as a 7-star, as we shall see, let's jump to the level 1, which one was it? Here we are, Dual Sword Stance. As a 7-star, he picks up this ability, where he can have innate dual wield. That's really nice. Before you had to use dual wield or like Genji Glove on him, but now he can just hold 2 weapons. And then he gets extra buffs for using swords, large swords, or katanas. So maybe the ideal way to equip him now would be 1 sword or large sword, and then the other hand, katana. So that way, and then with the light and the fire elements, that way you can get all the buffs there. And then Zargabaath has so many innate buffs from like equipment and just, you know, standing there, that you don't really have to build him to actively raise any of his stats. My build here, this is for a very specific reason. More for evade and then provoke. And then still, HP is like very good, MP is really good, defense is also really good. So yeah, he's you almost don't have to think while you're equipping him. Just go for like whatever your goal is with him. And then to continue to look at his 7-star form, here is his trust ability, even more stats, resistance to stop, and then changes his limit break. So let's look at his Trust Master, the Judge Helm. This will give him some elemental resistance and then a little bit defense and spirit. But it also changed his limit break. And then the limit break is kind of the thing that people are the most excited about with Zargabaath here. It gives you all stat buffs. If you max it out, it goes from like 120, 130 up to 150. So that's a very nice buff. That's similar to Nicole. And he also gives you 50% damage mitigation, which might be the highest damage mitigation in the game right now. So that's kind of similar to Wilhelm's limit break, and also similar to Nicole's limit break, so it's like those two together. But this lasts for 2 turns, so that's pretty crazy. So the limit break is much better now. It's also been made more expensive, so it takes 40 crystals now. I'm not as enchanted by this limit break as a lot of people are. When you can use it, I would say use it. But I don't think it's super necessary to, you know, build him in order to get it out as often as possible. And I would say it's not even worthy of like leveling it up. For me personally, the way I play, I like to save my limit break pots for characters that do like finishing attacks with their limit breaks, or like, you know, big chaining attacks. People like Nicole or Rena or Zargabaath here, where leveling up their limit break just increases the buff, it's not as attractive to me. But still, if I do get the limit break, I will be using it, because that 50% damage mitigation is pretty great. Alright, and then continuing on with abilities he picks up at 7-star. This is a Prismatic Barrier, another cooldown skill available turn 1. I really like this one because it gives you 60% elemental resistance to all elements. I showed Bastion earlier, which gives you 40%, but 60% is really nice. That's very close to Minfilia and her AoE elemental resistances. So yeah, I really like this. And if you can get all of your characters at like 40% or higher element resistance, and then you put this on them, you kind of don't need a magic tank. Because all of your characters can just ignore that elemental magic damage, so that's pretty cool. And then this will also protect you from debuffs. but I would mostly use this ability for the elemental resistances. And then it also gives him dual cast. And then we'll look at his abilities that he can use with dual cast in the dummy when we go to that later. And then he picks up Arcadian Crest, which is kind of an upgrade of another skill he has, which is Hero Crest here. Single target and then all stat buff, costs 20. This costs 60, all stat buff, and also removes debuffs. This is kind of a important ability. I found it to be important recently, and I really like Nicole and Rena's limit breaks because they can also buff as you are removing debuffs at the same time. This is single target, however, so maybe you can save this just for your tank or something. And then Vengeance Blade, this is pretty crazy. This is a chaining skill. It chains perfectly with Octaslash. The character that can get the most damage from that is Sephiroth with his Trustmaster. You can also use like Prompto or Enhanced Roberta. So yeah, this gives Zargabaath a chance to chain. In my opinion, however, I'm not going to be using it very often for this. Just because Zargabaath has so many other things to do, he might not get a chance to really use this. You could use other characters in your team for like buffing or elemental, whatever, or healing. But at that point, you know, why would you use Zargabaath then if you're just going to use him for chaining? I really like support characters that can chain. If you watch my videos about Mercenary Ramza and Knight Delita, I really like that aspect of them. But I feel like Zargabaath just has so much to do that he won't get a lot of chances to use this. Also as a 7-star, he picks up another cooldown skill, and this is very similar to his Limit Break. It's an all-stat buff and then 40% damage mitigation, so almost as good as the Limit Break. And then this also gives the dual cast. I think a lot of people will be looking at using this one on the first turn, so they can set themselves up for a dual cast later. And then finally at level 120, more HP, more LB fill rate, and then 20% more evade. So he'll get 40 in all. That's one of the highest, if not the highest, in the game right now. So that makes it pretty easy for him to become 100%, and then you know, use him that way. As for builds, there are 3 builds that I like, I think. The first one would be just kind of like a, you know, standard support character, where you don't really use his tanking abilities. So you'll have like other tanks, and then Zargabaath will just be off to the side, you know, doing his buffing and maybe chaining or whatever. This might be the best way to build him if you want to spam his Limit Break. So let's do that. Let's just equip him just so that he can get the most stats and then also the most Limit Break crystals. So let's see, let's do Lightbringer. So yeah, sword and then katana, fire, and light. That will give him the most buffs there. Definitely want to use his Trustmaster. And then for armor, let's just give him a lot of defense and then HP. For accessories, what would be good? This is nice, the Bling Necklace. This will give him HP and then also some more Limit Break fill, so that'll be good. Judge Magister Cloak is good for him. Give him HP and defense, and then also some innate provoke. But for the Limit Break build, let's give him... let's see, Prodigy Goggles, I guess. Okay, and then for abilities, let's give him just more Limit Break stuff. So, Mood Maker, and then Tomb Raider. This will give him HP as well. And then let's give him Pure White Blessing. This will also restore his MP, which is nice because he uses a lot of MP with his kit. And then finally... sure, let's give him Azure Crimson Soul, HP, and then LB fill rate. So yeah, I don't know how much fill rate this is. but you could certainly do this. Another thing you could do is that you could give him Equip Short Sword, that is Penello's Trustmaster, and then you can give him a couple of daggers. And yeah, you could use, like, I don't know if there are fire and light element daggers. Let's check real quick. No, I guess not. There might be some somewhere. But yeah, if you could get fire and light element daggers, take them through Item World and get the high tide on each of them, that would be even more fill rate for him, so that would be pretty good. So yeah, this is the just the straight support Zargabaath. Very nice HP, defense and spirit is also looking pretty good. Another way that you could build him would be as an evade tank. And then there's two ways that you can do this. One, he is an all-in-one 100% provoke, 100% evade tank. And then the second way is to just give him evade and then use him with Illusionist Nicole. And then Illusionist Nicole can use the redirect onto Zargabaath. So here, let's equip Zargabaath for the all-in-one build, where he gets 100% provoke and 100% evade. So instead of Lightbringer, let's give him Shiranui. This will give him 5% evade. For armor, let's do Assassin's Vest, that's another 10. For the accessories, we're going to have to give him stuff with innate provoke. When he uses the Golem Esper, that provoke, that'll give him 70%. So we need to make up the last 30%. We can do that with Judge Magister Cloak for 20 there, and then Yellow Balloon for 15 there, so we'll be a little bit over 100. And then for the accessories, or for the abilities rather, we'll just give him all of the evade things here. Where is that? Quick Assault. True Spirit of Freedom. And then Spirit of Freedom. And the Golem Esper. Okay, he's got that. Okay, so now Zargabaath is able to use Provoke on himself. He'll get to 100% Provoke. And he has the 100% Evade with all of this stuff. And yeah, this is pretty similar to how I used him in Marlborough. That was very nice. The one thing about the Marlborough fight is that he does not have the Null Petrify. So what I did there, I took off his Judge Helm and I gave him the, what was it? The Rider's Helm. That'll give him the Petrify resistance. That will mean that his Limit Break is downgraded. He won't get, as much good stuff there, the damage mitigation. But, if you need that, then you can do that. And then, if you don't need Zargabaath to do the Provoke, because you're using Illusionist Nicole, I can get rid of the Yellow Balloon, maybe the Judge Magister Cloak, and then put some other stuff on there. Maybe to raise his HP or defense or whatever there. But yeah, Zargabaath is pretty great. I know the character well, because I've been using him a lot. And like I said earlier, it can be difficult to imagine sort of like why and how he is good. It pays to take him through quests and just learn him. And then you can get an idea of how powerful he is. Alright, but anyway, let's move over to the dummy. And then let's test out his chaining with Octaslash. And then also, like, which abilities of his are available using the dual cast. Okay, here we are in the dummy. Let's try out the chaining first with Prompto. Okay, 31 chain, that's pretty good. With Zargabaath, we just did the Vengeance Blade once, because he's dual wielding. So he can get in, those two, the first part and the second part of the chain. Prompto, he is double-handing the Machine Gun Plus, so I had to dual cast with him. But yeah, that is a chain, nice and long, so it can be easy to maybe fit a finishing blow in there. Next up, let's look at Zargabaath's dual cast. So first we'll use one of his cooldown skills in order to get that. Let's use Prismatic Barrier. No, let's do the other one. Arcadia's Might will give him dual cast for more turns, so let's do that. Okay, and then let's look at which skills are available to Zargabaath when he is dual casting. So not available is Word of Law, Bastion, Arcadian Light, and his cooldown skills. This is really kind of limiting. Like, it would be really cool to use Word of Law and Arcadian Light on the same turn, because that would be lots of like resistances and stuff. But actually that would be pretty similar to his cooldown ability, and then maybe they didn't want you to, you know, have that out every single turn, so that might be why they didn't allow those. Can't use Bastion, that also would have been nice defense there. What you can use Blade of Justice, that's the Dispel. It's not worth double casting this, however. I was hoping that I could, you know, double cast it and then do Dispel on two different guys, but you can't change your targeting partway through if you're targeting enemies. So yeah, you can't do it there. But if you are targeting like your teammates, you can change your targeting midway, so that might be a good way to do that there. Sacred Strike I never really use unless I am, you know, using light damage to clear a mission. Berserk Crest, you can use this on your Chainer as he is like jumping in there to do damage, so they can do lots more damage. And then you can dispel that afterwards so that they don't stay in Berserk mode. Judgment Blade I never use. Rejuvenate is really good, especially as a double cast, because it is single target, but it's very, very powerful. And then this would be the ability that I recommend to use if you got nothing else to do. You could even just use it on Zargabaath himself, because he'll be using those magic points to double cast his stuff. To get some of that back from Rejuvenate would be good. And then Arcadian Crest, I like this one. It's a little limited because it is single target, but if you can cast two of them in one turn, that would be pretty helpful. And then Vengeance Blade, you could dual cast this maybe if you are double-handing with Zargabaath. So yeah, it's nice to have the double cast, but it's not always necessary, just because the type of skills allowed are not as nice as maybe we would like. But yeah, I think that will do it for a look at Zargabaath. Very versatile character, very powerful. And again, it's a little bit difficult to imagine how good he is. So in the notes, I will put links to where I use him, like the Shitura story quests, or Marlborough, or other stuff like that. Okay, hopefully you got your Zargabaath, and hopefully you enjoy him. Thanks for watching, we'll see you again. Take care.